Hello everybody, BL here, hoping that you're doing well, working on the pieces to your puzzle one at a time. I know I've been kind of out of it a little bit, just, dealing with life and doing the do as I need to do for me. I'm hoping that you're doing the same. Just wanted to pipe in a little bit on this Miss Jefferson lady out of Fort Worth that was recently killed in her home. Now, the story is, of course, she's a college graduate from Xavier University, bio pre-med. She was at home with her nephew playing video games. She heard a commotion or heard something in her backyard, went to the window to see, and at the same time an officer was there and questioning, show me your hands, and immediately fired. And she succumbed to the gunshot wound. People, I say we have to stop calling the police on for stuff, and we have to start policing our own. Our interactions with the police rarely turn out in our best favor. This story struck me because this could very well have been me. I was in my home with my children and some other children and happened to hear commotion on the front of the house. And I immediately had the children go into another room toward the other end of the house and hide. Just for whatever reason, that was my gut. And I peeked out the window and out the front window, and I saw a whole bunch of police, different jurisdictions, running toward my house. And by the time I got the kids hidden and positioned away, by then these police had come up in. They'd come in my backyard, come in my back door, and they were in the house, guns drawn and all. And I think the difference is that there were two walls. It's a hallway, kind of like an L-shaped hallway. So they had to go through two walls, make two turns in order to physically lay eyes on me. So as I'm approaching them and they're approaching me, I called out to them and I questioned who they were and what the hell they were doing in the house. At that point, they identified themselves as police. And I said, well, this is my house and I didn't invite you here. Why are you here? Etc., etc. And so that kind of allowed it to stand down a little bit. But had I not had that L-shaped hallway and been able to have the good sense to call out to them before I could actually lay eyes on them, that story could have gone very ugly. And I didn't call the police. No one called the police on me. They were chasing somebody and decided that the guy ran into my house. Go figure. And I was just sitting there. I had my back door open. We were sitting in the den, just enjoying the air. And they came in, were coming in, and when they got to the back of the houses, they saw my door open, so the assumption is he must have went in my house. And I'm just giving an assumption for them that it shouldn't have been. They still should have questioned the ability to come in. They don't just come in people's homes, because my neighbor, she keeps her door open sometimes as well. Her dog likes to kind of run in and out the yard, so she keeps her door open. But the assumption was that he came in mine. And you come in guns drawn. And as it turns out, they were just chasing someone who was unarmed, who didn't even have a shirt on. Skinny little buck too. I mean, I promise you, he was nothing but a pencil. He had on some basketball shorts and, he had on a white t-shirt, but he took the t-shirt off at some point later on. But it was obvious he wasn't armed or anything. So why are you chasing him? Because he failed to yield to a traffic stop and took off running. So you're going to end his life. You're going to use deadly force toward him and anybody else in the way because he didn't yield to a traffic stop. It's gotten out of hand, way out of hand. But what I say in this situation is very sad, and let me offer my condolences to the family. It's very, very, very sad. But neighbors, get to know each other enough to police your own blocks. Get to know each other enough to know, yeah, if her door is open and something's wrong, you knock on the door of a next neighbor and the two of y'all go over there together. or pick up the phone and call and say, hey, something's going on at Miss Jefferson's house. Let's meet over there and let's go in and see what's going on. Because we calling the police, it doesn't end well for us. Many of them, not all of them, many of them seem to be trigger happy. Many of them seem to be over anxious, or whatever the word may be, or they all fear for them lives, whatever it is. But we're the ones wind up dead. We're the ones wind up hurt. And we see what happened in the Geiger situation. Dare somebody speak against the officer in trial, what may happen then? So the best bet is stop calling them. Police our own. Call them as a last resort. Every other group polices their own first. Every other group use each other as their first resort. So why can't we? It's past time out for giving the police forces the rights and power into our lives. We can do some stuff ourselves. You got a break-in or a fight or a car accident or a little minor stuff going on. The neighbors on the block, if you know each other well enough, y'all go over there and handle it. Make a decision, okay? Miss B, you're going to pay Johnny next door for running into his car. And we're going to oversee to make sure you make him pay it. And then y'all follow up with me. Every time you see me, you take care of that, you take care of that, you take care of it till it's taken care of. If you have to tell me you're going to kick my butt, especially if you're an elder and you tell me you're going to whoop me or something like that, I'm going to respect you and I'm going to try to get it paid. Fights. There's no need to call the police if you got two neighbors fighting. Get together some other neighbors, or even a husband, wife, or even, brother, sister, 2 kids, whatever it is. Get some other neighbors together on the street. Y'all go in there, y'all separate them. And have conversations with them. Go to their parents or their loved ones or whomever else it is and share what's going on. Help be a part of the solution. Adding the police into the equation is not part of the solution. It really only makes matters worse. Because now you just giving that power and authority over to a whole nother entity. An entity who has no desire to redeem them, to rehabilitate them, to fix the situation, to resolve the situation in any way other than adding somebody in the jail system, adding records, criminal records, which means, potential job loss and that sort of thing, adding somebody else to their roles. If you see an open door, like I said, gather a few neighbors and go check it out. We have had, actually, there was a situation where we did have a break-in. And I was at my cousin's house, and his career is a high-profile career, and he's in a very nice home, and it's not too many African Americans in the neighborhood. We'd gone out to eat, and we came back, and the back door was standing wide open. And so what do? We backed out of the house, out of the front door. We closed the front door. We dialed 911. But we are the homeowners. So we knew where we were, and we knew it was not us. The officers came in, and just like in this situation with Miss Jefferson, they parked down the street, turned their lights off, no sirens, none of that. They snuck up, kind of in the dark and checked the house and all that other stuff before they cleared the house for us to go in. Because the robbers, they'd already got what they were going to get, and they were gone. I think we scared them. I think we came back too soon. Because otherwise I'm pretty sure they would have closed the door behind them. But I think they ran out when they heard us pulling in the driveway with whatever they had, and didn't close the door. But I say that to say, yes, there are times when you can call them, but try not to. Like in our situation, we called them because we were the homeowners. Well, I wouldn't. My cousin is. And there were several of us that had gone out together, so all of us were together. It wasn't like there was potentially somebody else at home. And we were able to tell the officers that we are the homeowners. We're the people that live there. And we know the door was secure when we left. So in that case, we knew there was a situation. And we know there was no one legitimately in the home. But as far as your neighbor, you should have your neighbor's phone number. Even, and you're not trying to date her or date each other. You just have your neighbor's phone number. I remember one time, going back some years, I went to church one Sunday morning, and I left my garage door open. I don't know why. I was running late that Sunday, I remember. And I remember that Sunday very clearly because it's a Sunday that someone came in and tried to attack the pastor in the pulpit. But I'd gotten a call from one of my neighbors in the middle of service. And when I looked at my phone, I could see he had called like 4 times back to back. That's my cue. Something's wrong. For him to call 4 times back to back, and he know I go to church every Sunday, something was wrong. So I immediately excused myself, returned the call, and he said, "Hey, your garage door's open." Okay, cool. Took care of it, no big deal. He felt uncomfortable going in, unless I gave him permission to go in. But the inside of the door to the house was locked, so it was really just a matter of the garage that was left open. Drove back to the house. I lived 5 minutes away, closed the door, came on back to church. But I say that to say you should have each other's numbers. Get to know your neighbors. You don't have to be best buddies. Y'all don't have to be in each other's house for every cookout, every barbecue. Although it makes sense to do so because then you don't have to complain when they've got a whole bunch of cars parked up the whole street. Because if you're at the party too, then you have no reason to complain. And actually, if you've got space in your driveway, some of the guests can use your driveway space and they can keep the street clear. But it doesn't end well when we communicate with the police and invite them into our stuff. Give you another scenario. Neighbors, someplace I was living, and young boys that call themselves trying to join a gang. Apparently they had some conflict, and they were having a fight, and they decided to use my driveway to fight in. Heard the commotion, went out there, and I'm watching, and I'm calling one of the boys and telling him, you know better, stop it. And by then other neighbors are hearing, so they're coming over to kind of intervene. And the one guy who didn't live in our area went to his car and got a gun and took it out and started firing. Right smack in front of our eyes. So of course, now we're getting kind of to the extreme. Another neighbor came out with his shotgun. Another neighbor came out with his gun. They said, "Look, if you want to shoot in here, we're going to shoot you. You're not going to bring that mess into our neighborhood." And they ran him off. The police were called. And what did the police do? They came. They got the description. Based on the description that was given, they were able to track the car in the neighborhood and bring the car back. But they wanted the caller, the person who dialed 911, to identify the shooter in their presence right there in front of all the damn gang members. Because they had them all lined up, kind of sitting on the side of the road. And I'm like, really? So if people want to be anonymous for whatever reason, and we've got gang stuff going on, you bring the shooter to the neighborhood in front of all the gang members and expect the neighbors to publicly, in front of the gang members, tell you who the shooter was? Okay. So I could see if someone had said, okay, yeah, that's him. So the gang members have just identified who the caller was. And those gang members that came over here to shoot my neighbor's son would have been here next week to shoot the caller. That would have ended well for who? For the gang member? For the police? Because they've got another potential conviction. It wouldn't have ended well for the caller. We've got to stop putting them in our business. Stop giving them rights and power that we don't absolutely have to give them. If you need to be a witness or support, you do that for people. I've seen police harass. There was a situation, I'm thinking now, young man, going back some years, 15, 20 years ago. I was, again, on my way to church to Bible study. Our drummer was trying to get his life right. He got a young lady pregnant. She had the baby. He was working a job. He came off the street. He's just trying to keep himself clean. And he was, it's a struggle when, you're not making a whole lot of money based on previous choices. And the police in that town were doing everything they can to get him riled up because they wanted him. They weren't able to get a conviction or get him arrested in the little crooked stuff he was doing, so they were aiming for him. And I remember I was driving one direction, he was driving the opposite direction. I could see ahead of me all these police cars and all these blue lights and sirens. And I realized they weren't trying to get him to pull over, that they were following him. And he's driving maybe 10 miles an hour. His flash is on and he pulls into the churchyard. He had the good sense to drive slow, to put his flashes on, letting the officer know that he acknowledged that they were trying to get him. And he pulled into a driveway of somewhere where there were some people. And so some of us, we pulled over as well to kind of see what was going on. Turns out they were following him because he was playing his music too loud, and they were wanting to arrest him for that. And I heard these officers doing everything they can to provoke him, to get him riled up. And as I'm hearing this going on, something in me says, no, stand with him. And I move closer to him and I grab his arm. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just trying to pour as much strength and energy into him. And I'm talking in his ear quietly as the officers are saying different things to get him riled up. And I could feel him squeezing me. I could feel the anger rising up in him. But I'm sitting here saying to him, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're not going to fall for the trick. You're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. You're not going to fall for the trick. And so he didn't fall for it. And by then, some of the deacons came out and some other people, and they were able to kind of intervene and whatever. And so he was given a citation for driving with his music too loud. But had we not been there, had he not had the good sense to slow down to a crawl and pull into the church parking lot where there were a bunch of people, kids, grown folk, all of us kind of around, where he had some witnesses, what would happen to him? We got to stop inviting the police into our lives. Don't believe that Romans 13 stuff where they all have your best interests at heart, because they don't. And some of them may have your best interests at heart, but somehow the training has hijacked the best interest, if you will. The training has taught them to shoot first and ask questions later. And remember, they get their certification each year by putting more bullets into center mass. The more bullets they put into your leg and into your arm or your ankle to stop you from fleeing, they don't get points for that. They don't pass annual firearms qualification for that. They pass firearms qualification for putting bullets center mass. Okay? So when they shoot, they're not shooting your ankle. They're not going for the ankle. They're not trained to go for your ankle. They're not trained to go for your leg. They are trained to go for center mass, deadly force. The other thing I would recommend, homeowners, renters, no matter where you are, no matter whether you're a homeowner or a renter, put cameras around your house. Even if it's your apartment, put as many cameras around as possible. And if you could connect audio to as many as possible, connect audio. Because what that will do is that will eliminate the need for someone to be bold enough to stand around the office and record on their cell phone, because we see that they're trying to pass laws where you can't record on your cell phone, or some officers are just deciding that you can't, and they're taking the phones and they're attacking the people that are recording. So if many of us have cameras all around our house, make sure it covers all the front, all the back, whatever angles you can afford to put. And if you've got every neighbor or every other neighbor up and down your street with cameras, trust and believe that's too many cameras for them to try to erase in one night. Situation occurs, they might get to one camera and tamper with it, or say, oh yeah, we're an investigator, we're going to take it and look at it. That's okay. You have 2 or 3 other neighbors have cameras from a different vantage point as well. This is how we're going to start being able to protect ourselves, to cover ourselves, to get the truth out there. Welfare checks, like I said, Don't invite the police, and you do your own welfare check. Gather a couple of neighbors. Call them, hey, Sister so-and-so's window's open. It's not normal. Call her. Hey, your window's open. It's not normal. I've had my neighbors do that to me. Hey, I noticed your car didn't move today. It's parked kind of crooked, and you never park crooked. Are you okay? I noticed your garage is left a little cracked. It's been left cracked all night long. Did you mean to do that? Are you okay? Is everything all right? Communicate with your neighbors. That's what they're there for. And this is not to put guilt on the caller in this particular situation. I just wish he had used different judgment and decided to be a little bit more proactive and realize that interaction with the police don't work well for us. Just put that out there. I'm going to also have a series on how we can be more proactive overall, not just when we're dealing with the police, but just in general, in various areas of our lives, because we are in a fight. We are in a fight, whether we realize it or not. And for those who still have their head not in the sand, but buried underneath the whole damn beach, I don't know what to say about y'all. I really don't. Bottom line is, police your own. Police your own. These neighborhood watches, they can be okay as long as you follow some basics. Don't do the Zimmerman crap and go out there and want to be the head honcho all on your own. Now, if Zimmerman had taken 2 or 3 other people with him, and, situation unfolded and Trayvon wound up deceased, I might be more inclined to believe a little bit more. But because he decided to do it all on his own, I don't believe that man got to say. But neighborhood watches are not that bad. You share information. I've driven through neighborhoods I'm lost trying to find somewhere, and I had the neighbors looking at me like crazy, like, who is this car? And that's what they're supposed to do. So police your own, figure out ways in which you can, and watch the series where I bring up being proactive, at which point you will be able to see some ideas in which I posted about policing your own. But be that village. Be the village. It takes a village to raise a child, yes, but at this point it takes a village for us to survive. We're beyond raising children. We're surviving until we're 70, 80 years old, and it takes a village for each of us to be able to survive. I remember once someone said to me, the government's already in our business, so what does it matter? Yeah, that's true, but don't make it easy for them. Let me give you an example. Let's say it's your 30th birthday and you get sloppy drunk. Just because they call it dirty 30. Don't go telling to your enemy. Don't share it with people who have the capacity to make that a negative in your life going forward. You share with your enemy, the first chance he get, he's going to holler, you be getting sloppy drunk. He's not going to say you got sloppy drunk on your 30th birthday, that one time. He's going to present it as if it's something you do regularly, you intentionally do it, you enjoy doing it, and you're doing it ongoing. Not that you did it the one time. And trust, if anything ever comes up, police going to use that. They will use that you have a reputation of getting sloppy drunk. So if there's a drunk driver in the neighborhood that hit a child, you're going to be the first one they come to because you like to get sloppy drunk. Mind you, it all came from you getting sloppy drunk one time on your birthday. Wasn't even driving. You was just sloppy drunk. But the word has now gone out that you get sloppy drunk. And they will use that against you. And can you see the difference? It's not about being secretive. It's not about hiding anything. It's not about anything frauding or anything inappropriate or illegal. It's about protecting yourself from future crap. Because if you don't protect yourself, stuff is going to come at you left and right. People are sitting in the sidelines waiting for you to say or do anything they can turn around and twist to make it negative, to make it hurtful to you. And sadly, during the Obama administration, we come up with this police and the community policing crap. And so we've been trained we were trained long before that, but it got reinforced, I know, in my lifetime when Obama was in office, to rat each other out for stuff that can be exaggerated and made into crimes later on. If your neighbor is exhibiting signs of mental health or instability, don't forget to call us. If you see some children left unattended, call us. To where you had kids playing in their damn yard. Mama went in to answer the phone or to turn the stove off. Next thing you know, the police there because the neighbor called because she did not have her children in her sight 24 hours a day. That's impractical. We all know it. How do we even fall for this mess? If you thought the child was in danger or unsafe, you stand there with the child and, hey, Mary, you okay? What's going on? I saw, I don't know, Suzette out here by herself, and I was just wondering if you were okay, or if you knew she was out there, or whatever. I was just talking to her. Something. It doesn't take but 5 minutes. 5 minutes versus you making a phone call. And now Mary's got police to show up on her. They're not going to stop with just making sure that, she just ran to grab the phone and coming right back. They're going to turn it into she left the child unattended. She neglected the child. And then they're going to turn it into a full-fledged CPS case. Then they got to come up in her house and do a welfare check and see what the rest of the environment of the home looks like. And if there's anything out of order at their discretion, mind you, there's not a set of rules. It's at their discretion to be out of order. Then they can blow that thing up way more than it needs to be. Stop putting them in our business. Stop putting them in our business. Police our own. Do not make it easy for the police to drag you down to the police station for something that could have been solved in another way. Don't make it easy for them to take another life that could have been, the situation could have been resolved in another way. You be accountable for that. All right, until the next one, take care.